This may be your first time with a rinseless wash. If so, welcome.
Hi, I'm Ivan.
I'm Nick.
This is DIY Detail. Today we're going to give you the basic wash with the rinseless, and for a vehicle that you maintain on a regular basis. So we're not going to go into decontamination and heavy wheel cleaning and all that. We're just going to give you a basic everyday wash. If you wash your car every week, this is how you do it.
If you find value in a video like this, please subscribe to the channel. This is your one-stop shop for detailing, education, and we get questions, Ivan, all the time. Basic questions. How do I wash my car? So this is going to be a real-time video where we demonstrate how you can wash your car at home.
Exactly. So I already have DIY Detail, rinseless wash, diluted 256 to 1 in here. Nick, if you want to dilute into the buckets, and I'll start pre-spraying.
The question, though, people are going to ask is, what does 256 to 1 even mean?
Half an ounce to a gallon, 4 milliliters to a liter, 1 capful per gallon.
And in this bucket, we have 5 gallons, correct?
Pretty much, yeah.
So that means just 5 capfuls of DIY Detail rinseless wash. Now, Ivan, if they don't have a fancy sprayer at home, what can they use to pre-treat their vehicle?
Anything that's going to spray it on will work. We have this keg, it's amazing, and if you are cleaning your car on a weekly basis, it might be a good investment for you.
Yeah, but you can get a weed garden sprayer at your local hardware store.
Yeah.
If you want to, you can apply it with a trigger sprayer, right? It's just a matter of getting this on the car, letting it start to emulsify and pull down some of the grit on your paint. We're all about safety with this method. We're going to rinse it on. We're going to spray it on, then rinse with a hose, then spray it on again. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So we've properly diluted rinseless wash with our Legacy Wash sponge here. I'm going to get to that in a second. But it is helpful if you have 2 people to have 2 different wash buckets.
You know, and also, doing a car wash by yourself, yeah, it's fun. But doing it with someone else is even better. This is a good family activity. If you're a couple, get out there, wash your cars together.
Ivan, 1 capful per gallon of rinseless wash.
Right.
Just for video purposes, I do have this bucket on the other side. And I want to show, you could also use a wash mitt. If you don't have a rinseless wash sponge, which we call our Legacy sponge, you can absolutely use one of these wash mitts as well. So you're doing a great job of pre-treating not only the wheels, but the paint.
Yeah, and the reason we're doing the wheels, like we mentioned in the intro, we're not going to go after the wheels with all clean or iron remover. If you wash your vehicle every week, you won't need harsh chemicals on your wheels. You don't need a wheel-specific cleaner. You don't need an all-purpose cleaner. Either you're using rinseless wash, incredible suds, either one of them is going to do the job.
People may say, is rinseless wash safe? Well, they may not even know what it is. All that it means is you don't have to rinse off the paint at the end. We still very much advocate a pre-rinse before contacting the paint with your wash media, just because anything you're touching onto this paint is a scratch risk. So the more lubrication and the more pre-rinsing we can do before we touch this paint, the better. So that means when you have a dusty car in a week, should you grab a dry microfiber and dust it off? Absolutely not. A proper wash is a proper wash, and that's what we're demonstrating here.
Right. And yes, it's a rinseless wash. Why are they pulling out a hose? Well, first, because we're in a new garage for us. The renovations are not started yet, and our pressure washer isn't set up. But also, a hose is a very viable way of doing it. Your garden hose does a great job.
Ivan, at what point people are gonna ask, do they clean their wheels?
Yeah, and you can clean the wheels at the beginning, you can clean them at the end. It's really up to you. Now, if the wheels are very dirty and you're needing to use a wheel brush and you're needing to use all of that, then yes, I like to do it after the second foaming if you're using a foam cannon, or the second application of rinseless wash.
But these are in such good shape, I think we're ready for me to just clean these wheels.
Right.
I'll adjust the hose here for you.
Yeah, thank you.
How much more slack do you need? You need another?
I'm good.
I'll add a bit of rinseless to the wheel bucket here. Do I need to go full rinseless dilution? Should I do 4 capfuls in the wheel bucket?
How many gallons you have in there, that's how many capfuls you put in. Over diluting or over concentrating is not a good thing.
Okay, so we have about 4 gallons in here, 4 capfuls of rinseless wash. So now I've got rinseless wash on my very soft, flag-tipped brush. This is actually safe on wheels and paint, if you can believe it. These wheels are pretty clean. Sometimes we'll use all-purpose cleaner, which we call all clean, on wheels, but these are in great shape. If you take care of your vehicle, if you wash it often, you're only gonna need to use rinseless wash on your wheels, and that is a beautiful thing. And I just like to work in a clockwise fashion. So if I start at 12 o'clock, I can't forget where I am if I just go around the clock clockwise. Believe it or not, this is actually safe on your tires as well.
Now I'm respraying the rinseless wash that we just rinsed off. The reason for that, the first application is we put on the rinseless, let it sit on a dry vehicle, and that's going to break down some of the dust and dirt that was on the vehicle and the salt that was on the side, because this was just driven actually through a snowstorm here. So after that, once we rinse that off, and that's taken a lot of that grit away with it, then we can start the wash process. But by having a little extra rinseless wash on the surface now, that gives me additional lubrication, and it gives me a nice foundation to start my wash with. Now, the wash sponge, the Legacy sponge, you don't want to take it out of the water like this and just start slapping it on the paint. No, we actually want to squeeze it out. Just enough so that it's on the verge of dripping. We don't want it perfectly dry, we don't want it wet. We want it to actually do what a sponge is supposed to do, and that is absorb. So the rinseless wash is on the surface, it has all that emulsification going on, it's breaking down the dirt, and now we're going to go across it with the sponge with no pressure whatsoever. We're just moving the sponge across the surface, and you can immediately see the water behavior change on the paint. You can see where you've been and where you haven't been using this. And see the dirt on the sponge? I literally just touch it to the surface, squeeze, it's perfectly clean again. But let me get the other side clean as well.
Ivan, people out there are gonna say, you're using a sponge to wash a car?
Right.
That sounds ridiculous.
Well, we've been told for many decades now that never use a sponge on your paint. And that's true, because many people were using dish sponges, and sponges not really designed for this. This is actually engineered specifically for rinseless washing. This is what it's designed for. This is what it does the best. And there's no need to fear the sponge anymore. Now, if you're wanting to use a dish sponge, no, don't. If you're wanting to use a grout sponge, no, don't. Yes, they're sponges, but they're not the right sponge for the job.
You're gonna get some nastiness on your paint if you use a grout sponge. But hey, you heard it here first.
Some people have. You know, when rinseless washes first started to become popular about 20 years ago, a lot of people were using the grout sponge. Oh, it's cheap, it's inexpensive, it does the job. It's cheap, it's inexpensive, it doesn't do the job. And actually, they're more expensive than the sponge. You can buy a grout sponge at a home store for a couple bucks, but it's only gonna last a couple washes. Whereas this will last hundreds of washes.
So we mentioned that this sponge is ideal for rinseless wash. Why
Right.
is it better, perhaps, than a microfiber wash mitt like I have in my hand here?
The way the sponge releases the dirt into the rinseless wash, that's where it excels.
Okay, explain that some more.
So the interaction that it has with the rinseless wash. When you're putting that mitt in the rinseless wash, ideally you'll be scrubbing on the sidewalls of the bucket there. Because a microfiber is designed and built to hold on to dirt. It grabs it, it holds onto it. That's what we like about microfiber. We don't want it grabbing and holding onto the dirt when we're washing a car.
Does that mean I should be extra vigilant with my dunking with the microfiber mitt versus the sponge? Or are both?
With the mitt, you want a bit of agitation on those side walls of the bucket.
So it's a grit guard, but it has the sidewall on it if you're not familiar with what we're using.
Or if you have a grit guard, go down to the grit guard.
All the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing one side per panel, and then I flip, and then I bring her back to the grit guard. I'm going top to bottom, because obviously the bottom of your vehicle is where it's dirtiest, and we don't want to risk any of that nastiness on the bottom of your panel coming back up to get you.
And one thing that I'm really missing in this shop is wheels on our buckets. Having to walk back and forth to the bucket takes time, takes effort, and is not very efficient. But we're making do with what we have at the moment.
So some people are going to say, you don't have two buckets here. You have one on each side, but essentially you're doing a one bucket wash. How is it safe for my dirty mitt or sponge to go back into this water, this rinseless wash solution? How is it safe to put that in there and then go back on a paint job of what, $200,000 car?
Yeah, like I showed in the beginning, the Rinseless Wash immediately takes the dirt off of your wash media as soon as you put it back in the bucket.
So that's just chemistry. That's just advanced.
The way it's designed.
Yeah. I know people are, these are beginner videos, so it's like, if people have never heard of this stuff, they're gonna be asking these questions.
Exactly. Next, we get to dry the vehicle. Now we have two different ways, or many different ways of drying, but we're gonna be using a drying aid. And with the Rinseless Wash, that's one of the beauties of Rinseless Wash, you do not need a drying aid. If you're using soap and water and you're rinsing the wash solution off, then yes, you need to use some form of drying aid. We're going to be using ceramic gloss as our drying aid. Nick is getting some towels for us there. Waffle weave for me, drying blanket for Nick. And this is a product that gets overused for a couple reasons. A, it's fun. B, it smells great. And C, detailers have a problem doing one pull of the trigger for some reason.
We have a tough time counting to one, Ivan.
Exactly.
2, no problem. 3?
Yeah. So one spray on the surface, deposit your towel where you sprayed it, and start drying.
I sprayed 2 sprays of ceramic gloss on the drying blanket.
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. Well, here's the thing with the drying blanket. When it's wet, it actually tends to dry better. So just to prime it, I'm doing that. After that, no more.
And I'm simply going across the surface, one spray. I could do a whole panel like the hood with one spray. Same thing with the fender, one light spray on it, and off I go.
So you can fold your drying towel into 4s like Ivan's doing, or if you've got something like the drying blanket, you can do this this pull method, which is fun.
Right, the Instagram drying pull.
Exactly. And you have the rinseless wash on the surface actually providing lubrication for us as we dry. Then ceramic gloss. Oh, fantastic drying aid. Boom.
Now you'll notice that it seems like this mirror is dripping incessantly. It's actually our roof that's dripping.
Some people have said our new shop looks like a movie scene,
Of a horror movie.
Saw or something.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering where all this moisture is coming from, it's, yeah, we have a dripping ceiling. It's happening. I'm always focusing on depositing my towel where I sprayed the ceramic gloss, because I always want lubrication. Your biggest risk for scratches comes in the drying process. I'll take care of the bottom there at the end.
And I've got the waffle weave towel. I have it folded. That way, again, I have a nice thick cushion between my hand and the vehicle.
You'll notice how quickly this is getting done, by the way.
Yeah. Accentuating a bit of safety, making it fun, getting a nice dry vehicle.
Up close, you can see this vehicle has been driven through the car wash before, because there's some swirls on the paint. And
Yeah.
we're not taking care of those today. We're just giving it a nice wash. We're not polishing though. But I see them.
They're there, and we see them. A lot of people don't.
From 5 feet away, no one's seeing those.
No. When this car is passing you on the highway at 75 miles an hour, you're not going to see the swirls.
Nope. Just gonna look shiny.
Or even parked beside you at a stoplight. Yeah, you have to have let's say a keen eye.
Yeah, less is more with ceramic gloss. You don't want any dwell time. We had someone ask, well, I'm letting it dwell for a minute before I wipe it off. I'm like, no. One spray on the panel, wipe immediately. Dry immediately.
Yeah. We're doing this series of videos, sort of a back to basics series. And when we're done filming these videos next week, we have contractors coming in to really change this place and make it our own.
Now, if you have a leaf blower or an air compressor or a master blaster, it's a really good idea to get your tires dry before you apply our tire dressing. We call it tire lotion. You can wipe it dry with a rag as well, with a microfiber towel. But when the tires are dry, they're going to be most receptive to your final tire dressing application. Your tire shine.
Yeah, and if you're doing this as a weekly wash, you won't need to apply a tire dressing every week.
Like in the middle of winter, I'm just doing this. I'm not putting tire dressing on my tires when I'm about to drive out into the snow. It just seems silly to me.
Right.
But not always. Sometimes I know I'm driving into snow and I still want the tire lotion.
Yeah. And you'll notice
I can't abide this, even though I know it's going to keep happening.
it's going to come back, yeah. You'll notice I'm using the same towel for the wheels that I did for the rest of the car. And a lot of people will have specific wheel towels. That's great. If you get your washing game up to spec, your wheels should be as clean as the rest of the body as you're drying them. And if your drying towel is getting dirty, then you may need to revamp your wheel cleaning process.
Another thing people ask is, when do I do door jams? And how do I do those, Ivan?
Well, if it's a weekly wash like this, you'll just dry them out. They shouldn't get dirty. There's seals all around there. And if they are getting dirty, then a bit of waterless wash or even the rinseless wash with a little microfiber towel, get in there, wash out your door jams, and away you go.
You could absolutely dunk this in a rinseless wash bucket. We happen to have a waterless wash that I think is fantastic. You can either spray it on the door jamb or on the towel. What do you prefer, Ivan?
I prefer just a little spray on the door jamb and off I go.
Okay. And that is how this is designed to be used anywhere, our waterless wash. It's designed to be used with a dry towel. You spray it on, you let it emulsify. It's got a bit of protectant in there, so it'll help lubricate, it'll help emulsify, adds a little shine as well. Waterless wash also has a fantastic scent. There was a lot of moisture here already, so I just give that a wipe.
Yeah, very much a fragrant blueberry.
If it's a customer's car, you don't ever forget the bottom of the door jambs. If it's your car and you want to do these, go for it. But some discerning customers will notice every little nook and cranny of the door jambs, if they started out nasty anyway. You'll notice I'm actually wiping down the interior with my waterless wash towel. It's because it's dripping on there. And what's interesting is this is actually a decent product to just do an interior wipe down, isn't it, Ivan?
Yeah, it is.
Waterless wash. It's got a great scent to it, but it's kind of a bonus item. You could literally do this with a rinseless wash dunked towel.
Exactly.
And a bit of ceramic gloss if you wanted.
With that, we're done our weekly basic wash. Very simple, very easy. What Nick is doing is a bit optional. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas, leave them below. And Nick, what's another video they should be watching?
Well, if you like rinseless washing, try our Back to Basics video on incredible sites.